Keep it going for your next comedian, Super Trucker Tim.
I've been everywhere, man. Across the desert, man. I breathe the mountains.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I travel like
You know, as the name might imply, I'm a trucker. So you might think that a trucker would hate traveling for vacation, but we always end up doing that. And we go to Yellowstone a lot. And I was just going to share with you guys, I earned my Junior Ranger Yellowstone patch. With my 6-year-old son. He's above par intelligence. I'm a little below, so it kind of evened out a little bit. But I didn't need any crayons this time. But just for inside info, the purple is the best flavor. I mean color. And part of our tour that we had to do was we had to go on the boardwalk tour. And if you ever go on that tour, you will see these boiling pools of death with this haze fog of toxic, nauseous fumes, right? And I couldn't help but when we saw that, I thought of this Bear Grylls episode. And I don't know if you guys watch Bear Grylls. He's a survivalist guy. And in this episode, he's in this godforsaken desert. And he finds this mangled animal head that was so mangled I couldn't even identify it. And he says, "Oh, this is plenty of nutrition here to keep me going for the next few days. However, it is full of bacteria, so I'm going to need to disinfect it first. This geyser will do fine." So he ties a string on it, dips it in the geyser, boils it and pulls it out. And he says, "Lots of protein in the eyeballs. But the brines is where the good stuff is." So he starts eating that, and he keeps it down, you know, and he says, "Now that I've finished that nutritious meal, I will proceed to wash it down with my own urine and sweat that I've collected from a bandana on my back." And I think he just enjoys drinking his own urine, guys, because he does it in every episode, right? So if this guy ever offers you a snow cone, decline. You know, most people avoid the yellow snow, not this guy. So I'm thinking about that, and the tour guide asked a question. He says, at the end of the tour, he says, "Any questions?" Yeah, I got a lot of questions. You know, so my hand goes up, and my wife's trying to get my hand down, and the tour guide sees it, and she says, "I'm sorry, but he's going to ask a stupid question." And the tour guide says, "Ma'am, the only question that's stupid is the one that's not asked." And I said, "Thank you. Sir, if I was to tie a pot roast on a string and dip it into this pool here, what kind of cooking time am I looking at?" And he says, "Ma'am, I retract my previous comment. That was the stupidest question I have heard in all 11 years of my tour guiding here. However, I am under contract to answer that question. So, the answer is, sir, these pools are not only hot, they're also pure acid. And they will dissolve any kind of organic material. So you would have no pot roast left. Just like that Californian that ignored the signs and fell in that pool last week, the only thing we found of him was a flip-flop. So I said, is there a reason you had to emphasize he was a Californian? And he says, well, that's a topic for another time. And he said, but I'll give you a little inside info. Some people come here thinking this is Six Flags, built for their protection and their, to go around their comfort. This place was designed by Mother Nature, and Mother Nature is a savage woman, and this place is savage. And so I said, well, are you going to put up any railing to stop people from going over there? And he says, oh yeah, we're going to do that. And we're going to defang all the snakes, put padding on all the horns of the bison, and teach the bears proper park etiquette. Yeah, we're going to do that. No, we're not doing that. And he says, I'll tell you what, between the bear maulings, the bison gorings, and people falling in geysers, we're going to let nature take its course and thin out the herd. So I said, you know what, for a tour guide, you're not really a people person. So everybody get excited to go to Yellowstone. Thanks.
Super Trucker Tim, everybody! Catch him out. He's a road comic. Oh man, that hurt. You're going. That was great. One more time for Tim, everybody. Hell yeah. Give it up for your next comedian, the very funny Havana.
Yeah, so check that out, huh? That's a genuine article right there, guys. Earned it. I couldn't help wondering, what if the sign had more information, like step beyond this sign over to the pool and you will die of a horrible, painful acid bath death that will completely dissolve all your skin off. That would stop the guy, right? Unless he was that entitled and he thought, oh, I got the right to go die that way if I want to. A lot of people try to get selfies with bears and bison, and they get gored and mauled to death. I think if instead of trying to get a selfie with a cuddly, furry creature that they see, if instead they saw something the size of a dump truck with claws and teeth and 1,600 pounds of furry death, then the mortality rate in the park would probably drop to 0. I'll admit, guys, the question about the pot roast sounded better in my head than it did when it came out, but the dumbest question ever? I could have thought of a way dumber question than that to ask. You know, and I started thinking, you know what? For a guide, you sure don't like people. Isn't a guide supposed to be a people person? And then I started thinking, you know what? This guy would have the perfect gig as much as he hates people. You know, do whatever weird serial killer thing he does to tourists and then drop him in a geyser somewhere and just report him as missing. So I thought, you know what? Maybe I could follow this guy around. But could I really stalk a professional stalker? Watch him, follow him, see where he goes on his turf and not get caught. And I'm weighing the risk, and all of a sudden my wife gives me a candy bar and I totally lost interest. So maybe it's if you don't know any better and you're not educated because the sign doesn't give you enough information, and they tell you, don't cross this line. Some people are just like, well, I'm going to cross it just because you told me not to. So maybe it would help to say, if you cross this line, you will fall in a geyser and die. Maybe it'd be best to provide that information. Because I get the whole, oh, I'm going to cross this line just because type mentality. And the tour guide says, you're one of those guys. Okay. And I said, what do you mean one of those guys? You don't see one of me regularly. And he says, I see about 6 of you a month. Now, I think if a lot of people who visited African game parks or safari parks said, you know what, this is a dump truck with a 3-foot diameter mouth. He looks like he eats more than just marbles. I think the death toll would dramatically drop.